Hi there, Tony. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here today. I just know you're always full of life, full of character, and you just love Italy to bits. So, welcome to Inspecting the World with Worldwide Travel Solutions. And I thought I'd just kick off by asking you why you love Italy and also where the favourite places that you've been in Italy as well.
Well, Sharon, it's a pleasure to be talking to you again. It's great that we're having this catch up. Italy. Now then, I've been selling Italy for probably the best part of 30 years. But in the last 8 years, I've been with a business called Typically Italian Holidays, family business, everything about Italy. There's a passion within the business, which I love, absolutely love. So I've been quite lucky in the last probably 7-8 years. Been down to Italy probably 20 times, I think.
Wow.
So I've done quite a bit of Italy, which is great. When people ask me where my favourite place is, I've got to say Florence. I fell in love with Florence the first time I went. It was an opportunity for me because I'd done touring, I'd done a bit of rail there before, never really stayed put in Florence. I got there and instantly felt at home. It's a beautiful little city. It's very walkable. I've been quite lucky with the weather when I've been, which is always a big bonus for me. But when I was walking around, you just get a feel of the real Italy. And so having a business called Typically Italian, there is nowhere more typically Italian than Florence.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I went to Florence the first time a couple of years ago, and I think now I've been to Tuscany area about 4 or 5 times, all in the last couple of years, and I just love it because there's just so much to explore and to do. But in Florence, the city itself, it's just so easily accessible from all airports and connectivity in the UK as well. So I know to get to Florence, there's just the direct flights, I think, from London. But I flew to Pisa and jumped on the train, which was great.
Yeah, most people when they're going into, and you're quite right, from London you can fly straight into Florence. The reason is that Florence has got a fairly small airport, and the aircraft type it can take in, you can't put the bigger jets in, so you can't put your 737-800s in, for example. Pisa is the gateway really for northern Tuscany anyway. So when you get into Pisa, I think, you know, we have 2 ways really of getting into Florence. One is we can do a private transfer for you. Takes about an hour and 10, depending on the traffic. Or, and I said to a lot of people, if you fly in and you're getting in perhaps before lunchtime, get because they have it's called a Pisa Flyer, and you can get from the airport into the city centre in about 7 minutes. You're at Pisa Centrale, and then you can get the train in, and there's a train about every half an hour into Florence. Takes again about an hour and 15 minutes, but you're central Florence, and it works an absolute treat. Because Florence is such a small city, you can easily walk. It's very accessible to all the hotels that we use in the centre.
Yeah. And what I love about your product as well, Tony, like all of the staff are just so knowledgeable about the country, and you work very closely with all of the hoteliers and direct contract them as well. So it's just having that actual expertise that you've got within your company as well. So if somebody was going to go to Italy for the first time and say they wanted to explore, is there anywhere that you would recommend, any sort of 2 centres you would perhaps say to go and do? If they had like a week, what would you suggest?
If I was going to send somebody for the first time, and I speak to a lot of customers if I'm doing events with travel agents like yourselves, and what we would sometimes suggest is, you know, that classic Venice, Florence, Rome is the one that most people would want to do. Yeah. Over 7 nights, what I would probably suggest is do a couple of nights in Venice, a couple of nights in Florence, and then 3 nights down in Rome. With that, using the rail network of Italy, it's a high-speed network, you can get through Italy very, very quickly. So when people are traveling by rail, they never need to be nervous about it because everything's in English anyway. Unlike our rail service, I've got to say, the high-speed network in Italy is probably one of the best in Europe. So getting around Italy by rail is very, very quick. We're very lucky at Typically Italian. We've been selling holidays to Italy for over 35 years. That when our customers go, and you're quite right, we know a lot of the hoteliers personally, we would probably suggest hotels that you can access from the station. So once you've been in Venice for a couple of nights, for example, you get the train down to Florence. We have a really nice property called the Corona d'Italia. It is literally 2 minutes walk from the station. When you get to Rome, again, we have a really nice little hotel, little 3-star that we use called the Windrose, but again, 5 minutes from the station. So when you get into the destination, you drop your bags and then go off and explore. But Venice, Florence and Rome is definitely the one that people ask for all the time. The other one I've got to say is the minute Gino goes on television, wherever Gino goes, everybody else wants to go. So we did see a lot of interest in Puglia, for example. When he's been in Puglia, we've seen interest in Sardinia when he was doing his programs in Sardinia. And then recently, Alan and Amanda have been down in Sicily. Yeah. So Sicily has become another destination that people are seeing and think, actually, I'd like to explore it. But we're really lucky. I mean, in Sicily, for example, a couple of our staff are actually descendants from Sicily. Maggie, for example, on her call centre, loves Italy, but she particularly loves Sicily. So, yeah, we do have that little bit of expertise that some companies don't.
And it's lovely, isn't it? Because when you watch a TV programme, it does incentivize you to go because it showcases the country so well that you just get immersed into that culture and that environment, and it's just such a wonderful place. I mean, I just love the whole of Italy, and every time I've been, I've just fallen in love with it yet again, because it's just so much to do, and there's so much for different age groups and people who want to explore or not explore. It has got something for everybody. But tell me a bit about food, because we're both big foodies, as we know. What's your favorite food in Italy? And also if you can tell me a little bit about what else you do around food as well.
Okay, so basically with it, and you're quite right, I am a bit of a foodie when it comes to it. For that, my favorite destination is Bologna. Bologna is the food capital of Italy. So when you go there, the one thing you never do is ask for spaghetti. It's always about the tagliatelle. And I think that's why I got my sort of nickname of Tony Tagliatelle when I joined the business. I'd been to Bologna a couple of times. It's one of the oldest university cities in Europe. And what you find with it, there's a great feeling of adventure in the city. And I think that's been brought in with the food. But that whole Emilia-Romagna central section of Italy is very famous for the varieties of food you've got. So, for example, Parma ham, you go to Modena, you get the balsamic vinegars. And we're very lucky. We have an excellent cooking school that's in a little village called Portico di Romana. It's about an hour and a half south of Bologna. It's a little village, but within it, there's a cooking school in a property called Al Vecchio Convento. And it's named Al Vecchio because it was actually an old convent building. But it's called an albergo diffuso, and it's basically a spread out hotel. So when you get there, there's rooms around the village as well, and it is going back in time. And there's a cooking school which has got a Michelin rating. The chefs who do the cooking school, it's a 5-day called Dolce Vita week you can do, and they'll show you how to make pastas, and they'll go through the whole process of doing fine food. It's a fantastic experience. I'm really lucky that I can make spinach and ricotta ravioli now. I'm quite good at that. But the great thing about when you go to the cooking school is they've got a superb wine cellar. They've also got and we're very lucky to have a private truffle reserve. So as part of the package, you go off one afternoon with the dogs and Matteo, one of the chefs. And when you're off in the high meadows, they have their private truffle reserve. He lets his dogs go and off he goes. And it is a fantastic experience. And so you see the dogs going for the truffle, Matteo going for the truffle. It's quite an experience. But the food is to die for. And it's got a Michelin rating. It's one of the few property. In fact, it's probably one of the few restaurants in Europe where instead of having a star, it's got a rating because the chefs, when they were getting it, refused to wear shirts and ties when they were serving up. So they said, when we're serving dinner, we're not going to do that because we're working chefs. So it's a real great experience. When you go, you're completely chilled. Wow. People love it.
I
Absolutely love
remember
it.
you telling me all about the truffles a few years ago, and it just sounded incredible place to go and visit. So I need to
It
do
is a
that
great
definitely.
experience. I'm going to say, Sean, it is a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
What we find when our customers go there, it is literally going back in time. This village life concept is something that they are trying to spread through some of the smaller villages in Italy. And this is one of the best, actually, when you get there. Although the hotel itself is a 3-star, the surroundings, the settings, the sort of albergue diffuso style of holiday is really something else.
Wow. And that's a 5-day course, did you say, that people go cooking for?
You do 5 2-hour cooking lessons over a 7-day holiday.
Oh,
And so when you're down in El Vecchio, what you'll find is you'll do 5 mornings, but then one afternoon you'll go to a local vineyard. Another afternoon, I think there's an excursion to Ravenna, which is a city of mosaics. And then you've also got the truffle hunting. And then you've also got an afternoon, really, where they take you around the village and let you steep yourself in the history of it. It is a really nice experience.
wow. You just sold that to me. That just sounds like amazing. And especially when I haven't eaten, you just sort of get your taste buds going and you start thinking about everything Italian and that lovely wine as well. And is there anywhere in Italy that you've not been yet that's on your list that you want to go to?
Right. The place that I am going to go to is no doubt about it. There's a village and small city, actually. I say a village, it's a town. It's just in the foothills of the Dolomites. It's called Bolzano. And it's about an hour and 15 minutes on the train up the side of Lake Garda. And that is where I'm going to go. It's got a very much a German, Austrian influence to it. They speak a slightly different Italian language. And it's somewhere I've been destined to go pre-COVID, to be quite honest. I always wanted to go there. I want to get up there and then I want to get it added to the program. I am going to combine it with probably either a couple of nights at the bottom of Lake Garda in Desenzano, which I quite like, or I might spend a night back in Verona and wander around, have a look at the opera, go and see the Romeo and Juliet's balcony again, because the last time I went, I couldn't get near it. It was so busy. And I always see these photographs, and I'm sure you've seen it before. You see a lot of photographs where there's nobody at these places. And